should probably address the elephant in the room, Shelley. Matt's mustache. It's fantastic.
Okay,
glorious.
Yes. For a second, I thought you were calling me the elephant in the room.
That's what I thought, Chris.
All right. Well, I mean,
was
but Matt's
trying
mustache,
to do a fake out,
yes.
like, "Hey, where have you been?"
But we're going to talk about the mustache.
That's what I was going for.
It is quite substantial. The mustache. It's looking particularly tufty today.
I like it.
Oh, why? Thank you.
I like it.
Yeah. Do you feel yourself having more confidence and authority as like a news anchor?
Yeah, or when I put on my aviator sunglasses, people think I'm a police officer, so that gives me some additional authority / hate, depending on who I'm addressing. So it's not a complete win, but it's fun to have.
Is it in August fun to have a mustache?
I mean, is it in August fun to have a full beard, Chris?
It's always fun to have a full beard.
So there we go. It's always half as fun to have a mustache.
I think a beard is more than just have. Well, whatever. So yeah, Shelley, how was the pocket dimension? You were infiltrating the PLA. You caused the purging in the rocket forces. You've been up to some good sabotage.
I am really tired, Chris.
Uh-huh.
We'll just leave it at that.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. So no guest today. It's just going to be us, but we have a lot of interesting things to talk about.
We haven't had a Just Us one in more than 4 months.
I know, it's been a long time. And I think the thing I kind of want to focus on today is just like the amount of tremendous pressure facing the Chinese Communist Party. My heart bleeds for them. They were such a meritocracy, working so hard.
Such a technocracy. Something.
Now they're about to get rectocracy. But yeah, this is really a fascinating time to see like all of the things that are kind of happening at once for the Chinese Communist Party. And we'll kind of go through them.
So the theme of this episode is the Chinese Communist Party.
The Chinese Communist Party. Is it going to collapse this month? Question mark, exclamation mark. Thumbnail, Xi Jinping looking sad with fire in the background and lightning over Zhongnanhai.
There you go.
Yeah.
The ghost of Jiang Zemin looming behind Xi Jinping.
Oh, this is great. I'm glad this is being recorded. And I'm glad you all clicked on it because how could you not?
I have definitely seen many, there's like these Chinese kind of pundits that have like they call them in Chinese like self-media, but like they're kind of just they do what we do in a lot of sense and analyze like Chinese politics and stuff like that. I have definitely seen thumbnails that look like what we just described.
I remember back during the whole Bo Xilai thing, there was Xi Jinping kicking a soccer ball, but the soccer ball was the face of Bo Xilai.
It was just his head, right?
Yeah, and I think there really was like Tiananmen in the background and lightning and fire. It was beautiful.
That's how you get people to click.
Yeah. Well, that huge scandal was more than a decade ago, and the Chinese Communist Party has still endured. Yeah. So
so are you saying?
I'm saying they're in a crisis now, but they've seen bad crises that they've.
So you're
overcome.
saying my framing of Communist Party collapsing this month might be.
No, as long as you have
as long as you phrase it as a
mark.
question.
That's right. Hey, good habit, baby. It's got to happen someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a lot of internal pressures that are causing a lot of this, but let's start on the outside and work our way in.
Okay.
A big force of external pressure on the Chinese Communist Party. It really seems that, I think mostly thanks to our show and what we've done to educate people, a lot of countries around the world are finally realizing that they need to de-risk or decouple from China. Sort of the romance of China is over, and I think we're largely to
But some people want to keep the romance alive, Chris.
Some people do. Kissinger is still alive somehow against all odds.
You should see what he's been up to in the pocket dimension.
Oh, gosh. We'll leave that breadcrumb, that trail unexplored.
Right. But the Henry Kissinger legacy is essentially diplomacy and relations at all costs.
Engagement. We've talked about this a lot definitely on China Uncensored and on this show too. China will become a democracy if we just give them lots of money to an authoritarian regime. Makes perfect sense.
What's interesting is that was not Henry Kissinger's initial view. In the 70s, the whole engaging with China thing was just a way to counter the power of the Soviet Union.
I don't know. I mean, that was that's how they sold it in a lot of ways. I don't know if that's if he was actually going for.
Yeah, the engagement, I feel like if it wasn't the beginning of it in the 90s is when it really took off, is like the political push across the United States government to say that engagement was going to open up China democratically.
Yeah. And I mean, you saw that with the Bush administration, like the same month of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Well, because Bush Senior.
I was going to say you're talking about George Herbert Walker now.
Yeah, he had he spent a lot of time in China. And yeah, the month of the Tiananmen Square massacre, he sent like a secret delegation to China to be like, don't worry, this will all blow over. We'll keep relations going. So, because I know what's coming next is we're going to blame Clinton.
He kept his promise.
He did.
Yeah.
Well, he was the ambassador to China, right? So that's what you mean by he spent a lot of time.
Emphasis on ass.
Didn't realize that you could do that.
I didn't know that you could. Yes, I suppose like it's a T-shirt. You can't spell ambassador without
door. An ass door.
Okay.
This is why you watch us for our cutting China analysis. You can't get anywhere. You won't get this at the Heritage Foundation.
That's probably true.
That's why they are bigger and more influential than us.
I mean, also explicitly conservative and have a lot of money.
Yeah, we don't have any of those things, particularly the money. But yeah, so that outside for Herbert Walker Bush, because then the next thing comes Clinton, like he just knocked it out of the ballpark with the engagement.
I mean, Clinton has always had a lot of issues with China. I mean,
Clinton has always had a lot of issues, period.
It's not really necessarily the best people who become president.
That's true. But it's not just the presidency. I mean, so Clinton, he did the whole, we give them more by offering them our palm.
The palm of our hand and the back of our fist or something like that.
Yeah, I guess the idea like, here, have some money.
Here, take everything you want from us and, whatever, if you want to give us something later in exchange, that's great.
No, it's going to be good for the Chinese people, Matt. That's what you don't understand.
Yeah, it'll make them reform somehow.
Yes.
The Communist Party reform somehow. But yeah, I mean, it's not just the presidency. It's like all throughout the government. There, particularly state departments have been awful under the Biden Obama administration was terrible. And really, I think we've seen a lot of like the current Biden administration State Department is kind of a horror show too. Like in some ways, I think it's almost been completely won by this engagement school.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so I've heard they have, I've been talking to Uyghurs, there's Hong Kong activists, and like they're basically, because they don't want to rile up China, they're keeping these people in legal limbo by not giving them asylum status or any kind of permanent residency in the U.S. They're just kind of here and they can't be deported back to China or Hong Kong, but they're just in this horrible limbo because the State Department doesn't want to actually move these things along.
That is awful.
That is awful. Then everything we saw with Blinken and then Yellen's trip to China, how Blinken's trip was supposed to happen.
I have to say, Treasury has always been bad on China.
That's true. Even under the Trump administration, which I would say was the toughest administration on China, which is a low bar. Yeah,
Mnuchin was not good. Yeah.